The doorbell camera flickered as I approached, the porch light buzzing faintly above me. I was still in my navy scrubs, blood on my shoes, dried sweat under my collar, and every part of me begged for rest. But instead of slipping into the comfort of my home, I stood frozen on the porch, staring at the screen, and the woman staring back. "Don't bother trying to open the door, Samantha," she said coolly, her lipstick perfect, her nails tapping against the brass mailbox like she owned the place. "Jake's finally come to his senses. He knows this house belongs to his family, not some outsider who never fit in." My name is Samantha Rivera. I'm 34 years old, an emergency room doctor in Charlottesville, Virginia. And in that moment, I realized I was living every daughter-in-law's worst nightmare. Except this wasn't sudden. Claudia Baxter, my husband's mother, had been rehearsing this scene for years. It started subtle. Questions at family dinners like, "When do you plan on working less and being a wife?" Or, "Isn't being a doctor a little much for a woman?" She hated that Jake loved me for my ambition. She hated that we didn't need her money. And above all, she hated that he chose me. Over the past year, her bitterness evolved. She began crossing lines, appearing uninvited to our house, accusing me of pulling Jake away from his real family, and even hinting I was unfaithful when I worked night shifts. Jake always defended me. Always. Until he stopped. Not dramatically, just little things. Forgetting to mention she'd visited, ignoring the nasty texts she sent me, brushing off her jokes. But this was a full-blown coup. I glanced at the 3 boxes on the porch, my belongings, stuffed haphazardly into cardboard like I'd been evicted from a hotel room. "Where's Jake?" I asked through clenched teeth, keeping my voice even. "He's at our family estate," Claudia replied smugly. "He needed space, clarity. He's staying with us while we figure out how to move forward." She held up a paper, Jake's handwriting, barely legible. "He left this for you. Want me to read it out loud?" I didn't answer. I was already unlocking my phone. "Oh, he changed his number," she added, eyes twinkling with cruelty. "Fresh start." My blood boiled, but I stayed calm. "Claudia," I said slowly, "you've just made a massive mistake. That door you locked? It's my house. My name is the only one on that deed, and you just admitted to trespassing on a recorded camera." She blinked, just once, then scoffed. "Jake told me it was his." "Yeah," I cut her off, "and he was wrong, or he lied. Either way, you've got 30 minutes to open that door and leave before I call the police." She faltered, the first crack in her mask, and I turned, walking to my car, not because I was leaving, but because I had calls to make. And I wasn't going to fight her alone. I sat in the driver's seat with my fingers trembling slightly, phone pressed to my ear. I wasn't scared. I was furious, and I'd been preparing for this day longer than Claudia ever suspected. The phone rang twice before Jasmine answered, my best friend, and more importantly, my lawyer. "Tell me it's not finally happening," she said before I could speak. "She changed the locks," I replied. "Says Jake's leaving me and she's taking over the house." Jasmine exhaled sharply, then her voice dropped into business mode. "You want me to send someone now or give her a chance to hang herself a little more first?" "Give me 30 minutes, I said, "but be on standby. Always." I hung up and scrolled to the name I'd been saving for months, Caleb Baxter, Jake's younger brother. He answered with a tired voice. "Sam, please tell me Jake is with you. Mom's been acting strange all day and I haven't been able to reach him." My heart sank. "You haven't talked to him?" I asked. "No. She told me he was traveling for work, but his office says he called in sick. What's going on?" I told him everything. The security camera conversation, the boxes, the note. "Jesus," he muttered. "This is worse than I thought." "She's in my house, Caleb, and Jake's not answering. I think she's hiding him." "I'll be there in 20, he said. "And I'm bringing the key to their place. If he's anywhere, he's there." I waited. Lights in my house flickered on and off as if Claudia was pacing or maybe trying to find things to erase. She clearly thought I was bluffing. She had no idea I'd been documenting every microaggression, every insult, every thinly veiled threat. Since Thanksgiving, I'd been building a digital file with timestamps, screenshots, even audio recordings. Jasmine had warned me. People like Claudia don't stop until they're stopped. Caleb pulled into my driveway 22 minutes later, face pale, lips thin with anger. He nodded at the boxes and the disabled camera. She ripped the wire out, I said quietly. He didn't say anything, just opened the passenger door of his truck and handed me the spare key to the Baxter estate. Let's go find your husband. The drive was silent. I gripped the steering wheel tight, every breath steadying the storm inside me. Claudia didn't just want me gone. She wanted Jake back under her control, back in the bubble she'd built for him. But she underestimated two things: how much Jake loved me, and how far I was willing to go to protect him from her. The Baxter house looked like something out of a luxury magazine: pristine white columns, sculpted hedges. But that night, it felt like a haunted mansion. Claudia's Mercedes was in the driveway, so was Jake's car. My heart pounded at the sight of it. "He's here," I whispered. Caleb parked behind her and passed me a flashlight. "Let's be smart. I'll unlock the door, you check the study. That's where he always hides out when things get tense." I nodded. The house was dark, too dark. No hallway lights, no TV hum, just silence thick enough to choke on. Caleb slipped his key into the door and pushed it open. The scent of vanilla candles and lemon polish smacked me in the face, Claudia's trademark. Everything was perfectly arranged, not a pillow out of place, but something felt wrong. "I'll check the upstairs," Caleb whispered. I headed for the study. The door was locked. "Jake?" I knocked. "It's Sam. Can you open the door?" A pause. Then, footsteps. The door cracked open. And there he was. Jake looked like a ghost of himself, eyes unfocused, shoulders slumped. He blinked at me like I was a stranger. "Sam?" His voice was slow, thick. What are you doing here?" I pushed the door wider. He stumbled, and I caught him just before he hit the floor. "She gave me something, said it would help me rest," he mumbled into my shoulder. My blood turned to ice. "Caleb!" I shouted. "In here. She drugged him." He rushed in and helped me guide Jake to the couch. "Jesus, she really did it." "She's been feeding him pills. He's out of it," I said, checking Jake's pupils. Pinpoint, exactly what I feared. Caleb pulled out his phone. "I'm calling 911. Everything after that moved fast. The paramedics, the flashing lights, the questions. Jake was rushed to Memorial General. Not my hospital, thankfully, but one of the best in the city. Claudia was gone. She'd left minutes before we arrived, we later learned, heading to her sister's place in Savannah. She probably thought she'd bought herself enough time to disappear. But she forgot one thing: the camera footage. She'd tried to delete it, but the system auto-backed everything to the cloud. Every smug line, every manipulative smile, every word she said to me was there. By the time Jasmine met me at the hospital, Jake's talk screen was already in progress. And it confirmed everything: heavy sedatives, anti-anxiety meds in levels high enough to control, but low enough to avoid suspicion. "We can charge her with attempted manslaughter," Jasmine said, her voice flat with fury. "And that's just the beginning." I didn't care about the charges right then. I just wanted Jake safe. But Claudia had made one fatal mistake. She underestimated me. And now the gloves were off. Jake finally came to around midnight. His eyes were clear, his grip stronger when he took my hand. The haze had lifted. "What happened?" he whispered, his voice hoarse. "The last thing I remember, Claudia said I needed rest." "She drugged you," I said softly. "Probably for days, to make you believe you were too sick to work, to keep you dependent, to make you forget." His face twisted in shock and something deeper: shame. "I let her." "No," I said, cupping his cheek. "She used you, manipulated you. You don't need to be ashamed. You need to heal." The next day, Jasmine filed charges. The list was long: unlawful imprisonment, theft, unauthorized entry, possession with intent to sedate, and attempted manslaughter. Claudia was tracked down in Florida, detained at the airport with a fake passport and a prepaid international phone. She didn't even look surprised when she was arrested, just annoyed she hadn't made it to the Cayman Islands in time. The courtroom was packed on the day of her arraignment. Jake stood beside me, his hands shaking, but he insisted on testifying. Caleb, Jasmine, even Claudia's own father gave statements. Turns out Claudia had a history of coercive control that went back decades. An ex-fiancé who dropped out of law school after a nervous breakdown, a cousin who cut ties with the family after Claudia threatened to take down his wife. But none of it stuck until now. The video footage from my security system? Devastating. Her voice, her laughter, the threats, all recorded, all time-stamped. When Jake described how she'd replaced his supplements with sedatives, convinced him he was mentally unstable, and then told everyone he'd left me because I was emotionally abusive. The room was silent. You could hear people breathing. I'll never forget the moment Claudia was sentenced. 15 years, no parole for the first 10. Her perfect hair was messy. Her usual calm was gone. She didn't even look at Jake as the guards led her out. Just silence. But it wasn't over for us. Not really. Jake started therapy. Real therapy. Not the kind Claudia had tried to approve. He worked through the trauma, the fear, the twisted guilt. I was there for all of it. Every session. Every night he woke up in a sweat, haunted by things she whispered when he was half asleep. We sold the house. Too many memories in those walls. Instead, we bought a cabin on Lake Sinclair. Quiet, peaceful, ours. Caleb visits with his kids. Jasmine comes down every month or so. Even Claudia's father joined us for Thanksgiving, bringing a letter Jake had written at 15, a reminder that the boy she tried to erase was still inside him. One night, watching the sun set over the lake, Jake turned to me and said, "You knew all along, didn't you?" I hoped I was wrong, I said, but I needed to be ready. He squeezed my hand. "Thank you for saving me." Claudia thought she could erase me, erase us. But in trying to destroy what we had, she ended up revealing just how strong it truly was. And that's what we carry forward, not fear, not control, just the kind of love that survives even the darkest storm. There's something eerie about returning to normal after chaos, like your mind keeps waiting for the next blow, even when it's over. The months after Claudia's sentencing were quiet, too quiet, sometimes. Jake would pause mid-conversation, his eyes distant, as if he still expected her to come bursting through the door. But gradually, the stillness became peace. We started rebuilding, not just a home, but our lives. Jake took a sabbatical from work and joined a local nonprofit helping survivors of domestic coercion. He started speaking to men who'd gone through what he did, who thought they were alone. Turns out they weren't. They just needed someone to say it first. As for me, I learned something I never expected. That love doesn't always mean staying silent. Sometimes, loving someone means being the one person willing to scream the truth, even when no one wants to hear it. We planted a garden behind the cabin. Tomatoes, lavender, cucumbers. Jake jokes that I'm trying to raise enough basil to start a farm. I joke that he's finally learning how to cook. And we talk. About everything. No secrets, no assumptions. One night, not long ago, I found Jake sitting alone on the porch. The lake was calm, and the stars reflected off its surface like silver freckles. "Do you think she'll ever change?" he asked. I thought about that for a long time. "I don't know, but I know you did." He nodded slowly. "Yeah, I did." We don't get letters from Claudia anymore. Her lawyer still sends the occasional request, motions for sentence reductions, supervised release, but we don't answer. Jennifer keeps the paperwork, just in case. Caleb and Jasmine encouraged us to write a book. Not about the abuse, but about the survival. About how families can fracture and heal. About how manipulation hides in plain sight. Maybe one day we will. For now, we're just living. There are still scars, triggers, bad dreams. But there's also laughter. Morning walks, the smell of bread in the oven, a slow dance in the kitchen when our favorite song comes on. Claudia tried to break us down, to erase who we were. But in doing so, she showed us who we could become. We didn't just survive her, we outgrew her. And someday, if we have children, we'll tell them our story. Not to scare them, but to show them what love is supposed to look like. Not fear, not silence, but truth, safety, strength. Real love doesn't trap you, it frees you. Because love, the real kind, wins every time.